everybody, and yes, welcome to the second installment of our Spooktober episodes. Ooh. Are you guys scared yet? Boom! So, today we have something very interesting to talk about. If you guys live under a rock, then you're not going to know what I'm about to bring up, but we're going to be talking about the Dahmer Series that just went onto Netflix. Mm-hmm. So want to give a quick trigger warning, just like the last episode. If you are sensitive to things like murder, SA, anything of that nature, please click off now while you still have a fighting chance. So yeah, we're going to get into that. But first, I wanted to ask how everybody's doing.
Doing good.
Surviving.
The Netflix series was pretty brutal to watch, I will say that.
It was. Yeah. It sucked.
Yeah, lots of tears, lots of ew, lots of uncomfortableness, lots of I need to turn this off for a moment.
Lots of I have a crush on Evan Peters.
Oh no.
No, but really though, like, I want to say this now. I've been bricked up for Evan Peters since he was Quicksilver in like the DC universe. I'm not trying to be that girl, but yeah. I did have a boner for him first, ladies.
Oh my god.
No, but I love Evan Peters. But, you know, he obviously portrayed something really horrific and disgusting. So, yeah, we're going to dive right into that. When I first heard that Dahmer was coming out, I was like, oh, wow, another movie.
I had mixed feelings because there has been just so many over and over again filmed, like just to upset the families even more and just remind them of the tragic things that their family and their children have gone through. But I was also like, I was kind of excited because he's I was excited for it to maybe be something different, where I think it wasn't necessarily glorifying him as a killer. It really focused a lot on the stories, which I think we all appreciated, of the victims.
Wait, I'm not trying to laugh, but I'm looking at us in camera, and I'm like, wait,
oh my God, guys,
dress.
We are dressed up as the three blind mice.
So we have our inspiration
I'm like, why are you giggling as I talk about, like, the victims and how...
I'm not trying to laugh while we talk about the victims. Yeah. I was just looking in cam.
Sweating.
Yeah, it's so hot. We're wearing, like, turtlenecks, me and Mads.
Guys.
But, yeah, we got our inspo from Shrek. Mm-hmm. Three blind mice, except we're like black mice.
Yeah.
You know,
they didn't have gray in our size or available in the stores.
Yeah, so
our size, because they're all like children's, like
giant heads.
Our melons get so fat. So, but yeah, we're the three blind mice. Again, head over to YouTube if you want to see our outfits.
Yeah,
we look great.
Can you see our ears in front of our black background?
And also, I took the liberty and I added a few ghosty babies to the wall back here, which
super cute.
I thought, it could use a little bit more spunk and spice.
It reminds me of the ghosts from Pac-Man.
Oh, you're so right.
Yeah. Doesn't it?
Like, they're just like thick.
Yeah, they're cute.
Yeah, they're thick.
Good job.
So anyway, so we're three blind mice. Just wanted to glaze over that real quick for what we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. The stories of like the 14-year-old boys and like Tony Hughes like being deaf and his story, everybody's story really. It was so
sickening.
It was so sickening, but also I know Dahmer's gotten a lot of hate. Like from the families, like, why do we have to keep reliving through this?
Exactly, yeah.
But I haven't seen a Dahmer documentary or anything go over the victims as this did this time.
Yeah, I agree.
I was gonna say, I think that because they did it the way they did, it almost is like kind of honoring their memory.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's why, it was so emotional because like they dedicated, 75% of the episode to that victim's background in their life and like what they did before they ended up,
Right.
Yeah, they did a really, really good job with that.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, I wish, because if you guys don't know this, it said that they combined, like, the Glenda Cleveland, the neighbor. So Glenda Cleveland is actually the combination of two different people that were Jeffrey Dahmer's neighbors, and they combined it into one. I wish they didn't do that.
Yeah, I was confused. I remember reading that Glenda didn't even live in his apartment building.
Yeah,
it was the other one that they combined with.
And I think we should say her name because she has a documentary I know out
So if she didn't live in the building, then like how was she involved?
It was another woman.
So there's actually another woman that lived next to him. That is the combination of Glenda, who's a real person, and I think her name was Cynthia, but let me double check that because I want to honor her. Pamela Bass. Pamela Bass is his actual neighbor.
Okay. So he did have an actual neighbor that made these calls and that was, concerned and smelled it through her vent. Like, that was a real
That's a real
person.
thing.
Yeah.
They also did that with Conorak, I think, because Jeffrey Dahmer had 2 14-year-old victims. Yes. And also Tony Hughes' story was the culmination. Or it was, it was a culmination of 2 people, or they just kind of like, they didn't go into the exact precise detail of how he passed. And I think it was like Tracy Edwards. So his last victim that led to Dahmer's capture, Tracy Edwards was actually in Dahmer's apartment for over 5 hours trying to escape.
Wow.
Yeah. He wasn't in there like trying to pose and stuff, like as they made it seem. Like he went through a lot. So I wish that they took more time to actually go into each individual victim's life and spend more time doing that, because I think that would have been 100% worth it,
Yeah, I mean, it was a limited series. I think only 10 episodes, right? But I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want to like drag it out to be too much to where people want to or maybe like lose a little bit of interest.
I mean, lots of people like watch this they want to see the killer and like know all about them. And like you said, people like kind of like push the victims as people aside, unfortunately, which is that's always been in the TV, media world, just, and these poor families have to relive it. Yeah. But I agree. I think they did a lot, I wouldn't say like a perfect job, but a lot better of a job than a normal like documentary would show. Because not to go off topic, but I'm about to go off topic. They're already coming out with like a Gabby Petito documentary.
I saw that.
And her mom, Gabby's mom, Nikki, is not in support of it.
Exactly.
Apparently.
Really? It literally... First of all, it was less than like a year ago.
Yeah, it was very quick.
And all of a sudden, like, they don't get the family's permission. Netflix doesn't ask for permission. They just start filming and whatever, and bada bing, bada boom.
So they're just really trying to like profit off of this awful situation.
That's where it's like, okay, let's not do that.
Well, Gabby was... Oh my God. God bless Gabby. She really stood out to me. Oh my God. Like, she's like the only person who's ever been like, through her situation. Yeah. But Gabby in particular was like so crazy because the media and, a lot of people had an issue because it's like, oh, of course, like a white girl goes missing and, when any other, like race goes missing, it's not as heavily like journaled or like reported on. Right. But Gabby did personally stand out to me a lot. And I like follow her mom on Twitter and like her family on Twitter. And they're super, super nice people. And it's really sad what she went through for sure.
And now her, her story is being thrown into everything all over again less than a year later into a probably multi-billion-dollar documentary.
I think, and that money should go to the Petitos and the Schmitz for sure, because they, that's their fucking daughter. But it's like everybody just wants to hop onto like the latest craze, like, oh, like Dahmer, he obviously swept the nation with his like horrendous acts, and people are more interested in why people are the way they are than like, no, let's talk about the victims. It's like, let's make a movie on the murderer.
Especially like with, Dahmer's lifestyle, and the victims he chose were mostly African-American gay men, which, back in, what were these, the 70s? Was it the 70s?
He 80s? Killed from the 70s to 1991 or something.
I think that's right. And, he moved into a majorly black community where, if you've seen the documentary that we're discussing right now, it's like when the cops were called by Glenda, they just dismissed her concerns.
Said, oh, we'll check it out, and then just don't.
So I do like how that highlighted, because that, I mean, it obviously, those are real victims that happened, but like that happens every day. And like so many of these, victims of different races are just, like you said, pushed under the rug because it's not, the biggest, oh, this white female went missing, or this, this white male did this and that. It's like, I like how they really highlighted that in the story. Jeffrey Dahmer.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that watching the Dahmer case, I think one positive thing that it left on me, a positive and a negative, like kind of a double-edged sword, was I didn't know how foul the police and the whole entire city of Milwaukee handled that situation. Yeah. And because of that show, because of Dahmer, it left me with an even more like sick and twisted view on like what really went down. And I think that that's important. And like for people to actually have a firm grip on is knowing the reality of the cops like literally failing.
Yeah. I mean,
these people.
The cops that, dismissed the 14-year-old boy, what was his name again?
Conorak.
When he drugged him and he said it was his, his boyfriend. And it obviously
that poor
wasn't,
baby.
and that these cops were just like, yeah, okay, and let Dahmer take him right back into his apartment where he died.
Yep. They're like, that's what Glenda Cleveland and Pamela Bass tried to do, like be like, check his ID. This baby is literally like he's a child, like he's in pain, whatever.
Yeah, that part was all around just like the most the saddest part of the whole series, and like I would say probably the entire series, like my stomach hurt watching it, but like that part with the 14-year-old boy was really,
and then
really
those
hard to
cops,
watch.
they were like suspended for like 2 years and then they were rehired. So it was like,
I did hear that one of the cops like resigned or something after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because in the Dahmer show, they're like awarded Cops of the Year or something, but it's apparently a different story.
Oh,
like they both like resigned, apparently. Like they couldn't live with what happened.
Good.
So I think that they wanted to push kind of like the image of like, oh, these cops got away with it and were awarded. So I don't know if that's true. But if you guys were to like say how many times you cried watching Dahmer, what would you say?
I didn't cry.
You didn't cry?
I only cried once when Tony died, but I did get like very like sad and uncomfortable every episode.
Yeah.
I cried probably 3 times, like genuinely. I was so disgusted because of like really Conorak. And oh my gosh, that scene where they're all like honoring Conorak and they're giving him his favorite dishes, like at that little house party. I don't know, because Mads, you got to episode 8, right? Mads wasn't able to finish because she's been really busy.
But I did my research. I know,
Yeah, she knows about all of it.
Yeah.
But basically, like, Conorak's family, they were holding, like, they were just having a party. They're Laotian, I guess. And all of them were over at the Saxophone. I'm so sorry. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But they were over at their house. And, they were, like, all the family, like, cooked and ate a meal. And they had a picture of Conorak, like, on the mantle of the fireplace. And just put dishes out, like his favorite food, right by the picture of him. And I lost it. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. That's so sad. Especially if you have siblings and you can like put yourself in those shoes, you're like, oh my God, that sucks.
That's what I felt about Tony's like mom and how close they were. And she was terrified for him just being, deaf in this community and not, finding his way, and she was terrified for him, and she was so sad when he, moved, and that really broke me, because, like, the mother and son's bond, and then for him to just disappear, and then something about him just being deaf and having to, like, struggle more with communicating, just, like, it just...
Yeah, and they really portrayed it as, like, that was, like, the one person that, like, Dahmer, like, really, like, fell for too. Right. Like that's how they at least portrayed it in the show, which I think also made it like just even like hit harder. Yeah, it did kind of make it worse in a way.
Yeah,
because it was just like wow, like I don't know, made it even more twisted.
Yeah, they portrayed it like Dahmer was the only one to earn Tony's trust, and then he does, and then he fucking dies. But apparently, Dahmer had purchased a rubber hammer to murder another one of the victims, but he ended up escaping. And that's how they portrayed Tony to have died, was by that rubber hammer. But yeah, a lot of the details don't exactly align with the reality of it.
Yeah, it's they're not going to be... It was a lot more vile and gruesome in real life.
Yeah.
For sure.
I took, back in high school, back in the day... I took I don't remember what the class was called, but every Monday we had Murder Monday.
Mystery. Yes.
I loved it. And Dahmer was one of, like, air quote favorites, like, serial killers that I
most
learned
interesting.
About. Yeah. Like, I was just, like, so, like, taken back of his doings. And it was just, I'd never, it was just so much worse than they could have,
The Milwaukee Cannibal.
Speech. It's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the show is like a lot less than what he
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can't even speak because it's just like so disgusting.
I didn't realize how. I don't think
Yeah.
I really knew about him too much until more recently. Because, like, I don't know, before that, it was just, like, from the Kesha song.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Did you hear that, like, those songs are getting, like...
They're trying to cancel, like, Katy Perry and, like,
Kesha because they used Dahmer in their songs.
Well, it wasn't even Katy Perry. It was, like, the I'll Eat Your Heart Out, like, Jeffrey Dahmer.
But that's
like
the thing.
that.
But, like, why are we waiting until 2022 when a new documentary comes out?
That's exactly what I was going to say, is it's really convenient and just, like...
I mean, there's been stories
It was
about
a very different
years.
time back then where, like, things were not censored the same that they are now.
Well, people also, like, oh my God, people were like, do you even know where your clown costumes for Halloween are inspired by? The movie It, you know where that was inspired by? John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, okay, now you're taking it too far.
Speaking of, I didn't even know until I saw that the day that John Wayne Gacy got killed or was executed was the same day that Jeffrey Dahmer got baptized.
Yes.
Yeah, they showed that in the show. You'll see that.
Yeah.
I watched some clips, but like, wow.
Yeah.
That was so interesting.
Yeah.
Very weird.
It was just weird how that...
It is weird. It's almost like the serial killers are picked out in heaven before they're recast into this earth. And all of their timelines can join to a spiral of misery and hate.
They were handpicked
by Satan. They're not cast down from heaven.
Yeah,
they're cast up from hell.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's really crazy because being on TikTok and like being on social media in these times are really crazy because I was on TikTok and you just find out so much shit on there. And I am currently losing my train of thought. I don't know what I was going to say, actually.
That's okay.
But what I was going to say was...
But here it is.
What it was that I was going to say, if we're moving backwards and I'm rechanneling the original thing that I was going to say about TikTok.
Yeah, you saw on TikTok.
What I saw on TikTok
was...
Dude, I totally forgot what I was going to say.
It's okay.
That's okay. I've been disassociating like this whole time.
It's the curse. Okay, well, what I will say, I had something to bring up about TikTok, so maybe that'll like hit the noggin a little later. But I think everybody had something really negative to say about the show, which I agree with, and I stand with the families and their discontentment with the show, and I would probably feel the same way. Be like, let's move on, you know, with fucking the world. However, I feel grateful to have seen it because now I know a little bit more about the stories and I really sympathize with the families even more than I did because I didn't have that understanding before.
I agree. I never, like I said about the class I took, I knew exactly what Jeffrey would do and how he would kill them and what he would do with his bodies and how he'd prepare them and how he'd eat them. Yeah. But I never understood, you know, the racial, like how his victims were all like gay black men. Yeah. And like different.
Well, not all of them. Some were straight. Yeah. Some were straight.
Yeah. Right. But a majority of, like, that was his majority that he would choose.
Oh, I remember the TikTok thing. Okay. So this girl, she posted something and apparently there's a website and I did go on it where you can see actual crime scene photos. And I saw crime scene photos of the Manson murders, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, the Night Stalker, like a bunch of different ones. And I saw, first of all, I saw Ted Bundy after the electric chair. Oh. That was crazy. And for Dahmer, I saw photos that I had already seen, but they were gruesome,
I was gonna say,
bro.
It's so much worse in real life than they portrayed it.
Yeah,
which obviously for reasons they did. But
sick part of me like does want to see them just out of curiosity, but like another part of me is like I don't know if I could handle that.
And it's just the fact that he, you know, took pictures of his entire process of when he killed them. It was just
okay, and that's why, because the photos you do see, they are so gruesome and so crazy that you're like, that can't be real. Right. Like you literally cannot comprehend that actually happened to somebody.
Oh, yeah, that makes my stomach hurt.
Oh yeah, I saw it, and I've seen a few different photos, and I was like, oh my god, like I can't believe it. Like I literally cannot believe it. Like somebody actually did that shit. And if you guys know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry for you because we've all had to see it. So
that's tough. I don't even know if I want to go see them. I don't know if
That's
I can.
kind of how I
get a
feel.
little queasy with like that kind of
No,
stuff.
it's like a weird like curiosity still.
No, it's you look at it and you're just like,
you can just
no
disbelief. Like
for me, I didn't have a reaction.
Looks like it's like a fake scene kind of
it
thing.
looks like just like haunted house like prop.
Oh.
I'm like, yeah, okay. And you know what? Maybe we're all desensitized to that shit because we see so much of it like as fake props. But like it being real, I feel like it's really hard to differentiate it. Even though it's obviously real, it's just like no fucking way.
It's so sad. Like those people were just people.
Yeah. I think we should probably like name all the victims.
We can do
and
that.
Just
for
give
sure.
like a little bit of about them real quick. So we
I
don't
also
make it all
liked
about him.
that they at the very end of the show they put up all of their photos, and I paused it and like
looked at all of it.
At him. Yeah, because I was like, I don't know, just to like really take it all in.
Yeah, absorb like what's happening.
So because, we were talking about how this show really, portrays the acts that Jeffrey did on these individuals, and they did do a good job, explaining their story. We wanted to acknowledge their stories as well and just put just a light on who they were as people because, it could be anyone. And these poor lives were taken. So we just wanted to give some background and all the respect to these victims that were taken.
And their families.
Yes. So his first victim, Stephen Hicks, was 18. And his father, Richard, described him as a deeply caring person, telling an anecdote to the Associated Press about a hunting trip where Stephen shot a rabbit and was as proud as he could be, and then he bawled his eyes out. Don't know.
So he was sensitive.
Yeah.
I saw that story too. He was just like a very sweet boy.
He had just graduated high school in Ohio. He was hitchhiking to a rock concert in Chippewa Lake Park, Ohio, roughly 25 miles, when Dahmer picked him up and brought him back to his parents' house. He was last seen on June 18th though his remains were not discovered until 1991 after Dahmer confessed to killing him.
Wow. Years he was there.
Years.
Rest in peace, Stephen.
And was that the case where he buried him first and then he unburied him and then broke down his bones to like scatter?
Yeah, it showed that he just like put him under his house in the show.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he like actually buried him.
Yeah.
I read that last night. I was looking. I don't know. Like that's what I mean. Like some of these details are different.
That's why
from
I'm
the
like
show.
unsure because I feel like I just got
in the
off
show.
of
Yeah,
the
he
show.
drags his body into his basement. But last night I read that he buried him once and then unburied him and then broke his bones down and.
They were saying that was like a thing of his, is that he like wanted to like have sex with
the
like,
corpse.
Yeah, like so he like tried to dig up.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that that's
That's
actually like a thing, which that kind of boggled my mind. Is like that there's a name for someone who like wants to do that, and I was just like, how is that even a thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
the psychologist in the show like made it sound like it was like such a like
Yeah.
that means you have this.
Well,
and
he
I
had
was like,
necrophilia.
Is that what that is?
Necrophilia is like, yes, definitely when you want to have sexual intercourse with the dead people.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just like,
Didn't they say
how is that
he
even a thing?
had-
I would never like.
It was
can't even
definitely
imagine.
it was a different term.
Didn't they say he had another something called where you like love the look of like human organs?
Oh yeah, like how they're
that was like a fancy,
slimy,
Yeah.
like shiny.
Yeah, and I'm just like, how is this a thing? I don't like that part. Really, like I was a little bit mind-boggling.
Well,
When there's a scientific term, it's a thing.
him and his dad.
No, exactly.
It's crazy. I know.
Do you guys think his
Should
dad
not be a
had?
thing.
Do you think his dad had a lot to do with it?
Oh, for sure. His dad is like just as fucked up.
His dad, they would like go and dissect roadkill together.
But like that's like a thing though. Like people do taxidermy for hobbies. You
Yeah,
know?
but
They
like
do.
for a child, I
Yeah,
just
I
feel like
mean-
that's like, what the heck? And when I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, so that term is called. I'm googling it now. Oh, not hysteria.
It's like a long, fancy science word.
Cotard delusion or walking corpse syndrome. No, that's not what. I don't know what it is.
If you saw the show, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Moving on.
It's okay. His second victim was Stephen. Was it Toomey?
Toomey. Yeah.
He was 28. He grew up in the peninsula of Michigan and worked as a short order cook in a Milwaukee restaurant. He was known as his classmates and growing up as very quiet but artistic. There's a quote that says, "I was in art class with him and he made a beautiful lead-stained glass lamp, that I can still remember," said classmate Priscilla. "It was just beautiful. I remember he could do just about anything artistic. He's the only murder victim in Milwaukee for which Dahmer was not charged because of lack of evidence. Dahmer did not recall details, but believes he killed Toomey, I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, at the Ambassador Hotel."
He wasn't charged for his?
Well, he woke up in the hotel and he had no recollection of killing him, and he was like...
Yes, that's the guy. Okay, so he wanted to be a model.
Yeah.
And Steven wanted to be a model. And Jeffrey, that was the night Jeffrey accidentally drugged himself as well.
Yeah, in the hotel room.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Wake up." He's like trying to like wake himself up. But yeah, and then he wakes up the next morning and he's dead laying next to him.
That's great. Side note, I watched this couple on YouTube called the Grim Life Collective, and they went to Milwaukee and like went to the Ambassador Hotel, and it's pretty interesting, and like kind of scoped out like Dahmer's locations, and not trying to like pull attention to that, but yeah, shout out to the Grim Life Collective because they're cool and they do stuff like that.
That's interesting. And then they completely tore down his apartment complex.
They did. It's completely gone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But his father said that originally they were told by Milwaukee police that they couldn't do anything because there was no evidence of foul play. So
he must have cleaned that hotel room up nice and clean.
I mean, it wasn't a bloody... I mean, as the show portrays, it wasn't like a bloody scene. He was just like bruised everywhere. So Dahmer's third victim was Jamie Doxeter, which was the first minor victim. He was 14 years old, and he was really tall. He was 6 feet tall at the age of 14. Wow. He was half Stockbridge and Hart Oneida, and liked to play pool and ride his bike. His mother lived in Tampa, Florida.
Whoa.
That's where we live. Well, probably. And he was the oldest of 4 children. And a quote from someone says, or from his mother says, "One of my son's favorite sayings from the Bible was, 'Forgive them, for they now,'" messes up a Bible quote, "'Forgive them, for they know not what they do.' I will never feel that way about Dahmer. He sits there so calmly and explains all the things he did. He knew what he was doing."
Damn.
His fourth victim is Richard Guerrero. He was 25, and he was hailed from a family of Mexican descent. His sister, Janie, immediately assumed he was dead when he went missing in 1988. And a quote from her says, "If he wanted to be like that, he would have at least called my mom and let her know everything was okay, instead of leaving us in the dark like that, with my mother praying to God every day that the good Lord will send her son home." Gosh.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
His fifth victim was Anthony Sears. He was 24, and he managed Baker Square in Milwaukee and was planning to celebrate his recent promotion to manager with his family over Easter dinner, but he never showed up. He was an aspiring model and was saving money to leave Milwaukee, and his mother, Marilyn, said he loved having his photos taken and was apt to run off with friends for days at a time, so he wasn't reported missing until 4 weeks after he initially had gone. These are making me so sad. Ricky Beeks, 33. He often went by the alias Raymond Smith, and it wasn't unusual for him to be gone for a long periods of time. He'd been living with his half-sister who took him in, and he'd been released from prison and had a 10-year-old daughter who lived in Rockford, Illinois.
Oh, that's sad.
Eddie Smith was 28, and he was called the Sheikh, Sheikh. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing, because he frequently wore a turban-like wrap around his head. He aspired to be a professional model as well. He was reported missing in June of 1990, and his sister received a call, presumably from Dahmer, this was shown in the show as well, in March of 1991, indicating that her brother was dead and not to come looking for him.
Wow.
Yes. Ernest Miller was 24, and he was about to start classes as an art major in Chicago and hoped to become a professional dancer. He was last seen in September of 1990. He was a talented dancer, his aunt says. He was singing and performing when he was younger and used to sing at church.
Wow, all very talented individuals.
Very talented, especially in the arts, religious, family people.
Great people.
So tragic. David Thomas, 23. He was a father to a 2-year-old. When he disappeared, his ex-girlfriend said Thomas was a fun-loving guy with a penchant for hustling. A quote goes, "I tried to go on with my life, but I can't let it go," she said in 1996. "Every man I meet, I think of David. He's in my dreams." Oh, they give me the goosebumps. Curtis Estrada, 18, another baby, was a high school dropout who joined a gay youth Milwaukee at age 15 and had a job as a nursing assistant that he lost shortly before he disappeared. He was planning to get his high school equivalency certificate and attend modeling school. Lots of models, too.
Yeah.
Errol Lindsay, 19. He was the youngest of 6 children. He had a job making plaster figures, according to one of his friends. One of his art teachers says he had saved a watercolor he had made and shared it with other students. Another, just, growing up in a community with, classmates and just all around.
Errol Lindsay's sister was the one who went into court and, kind of rushed towards Dahmer, and she was escorted out of the courthouse because she was like, I can't even, she was like, whatever your name is, Satan, and was like, this is what crazy looks like.
Yeah, that actress nailed it.
Yeah, side by side, she, did the same exact thing as Errol Lindsay's actual sister.
A quote right here says, when I saw some of the show, it bothered me, especially when I saw myself. When I saw my name come across the screen and this lady saying verbatim exactly what I said.
Oh,
really?
I just got goosebumps again. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
If I didn't know any better, I would have thought it was me. Her hair was like me. She had on the same clothes. That's why it felt like reliving it all over again.
Gosh.
It brought back all the emotions I was feeling back then. I was never contacted about the show. I feel like Netflix should have asked if we would mind or how we felt about making it. They didn't ask me anything. They just did it.
Well, obviously they would know that they wouldn't do it if they reached out to the families.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Here comes Tony.
Oh, yeah. Anthony Tony Hughes, 31. He was visiting he came back home to visit his Milwaukee family because he moved to Madison, where he lived, and was profiled as a missing person. Hughes was deaf, a condition brought on after battling pneumonia as an infant, and he's one of the few victims given a 3-dimensional portrayal in the Netflix series. He could read lips and communicate through sign language and written notes, as we saw. Oh, gosh. How did you pronounce
Conorak.
Conorak Synthasophone. Another baby, only 14 years old. He was one of the most familiar in the case because of an incident involving Milwaukee police when Conorak was returned to Dahmer's by police after Dahmer convinced them that he was 19 and drunk and the two were in a relationship. Oh my goodness. He was 3 years old when his family relocated, one of the 3 children still living at home at the time of his disappearance. He was a regular soccer player at Mitchell Park and was just a freshman at high school. So 14 years old.
I just remembered that so you know how they portrayed that the cops were like how he'd be like, oh, it's gay stuff, and the cops would be like, ew, gay stuff. I guess one of the cops was actually gay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so I think he was the one that resigned after.
Okay.
And then he resigned and came out as being homosexual.
Mm-hmm. We have Matt Turner, who is 20. He was a native of Flint, Michigan, lived in Chicago, and was also an aspiring model. He met Dahmer at the Gay Pride Parade. He was basically a good kid who directed the teen living program there. He was bright and articulate. This whole thing was very sad. Jeremiah Weinberger was 23. He was a native of Puerto Rico, lived in Chicago, and worked as a customer service representative for a video store. He loved art and was very meticulous, his roommate said. His desk was always straight, and he knew where everything was. He always dressed nice and always worried about what he wore and how he looked. Oliver Lacey, 23, the youngest of 3 sons, had a 2-year-old named Emmanuel and was engaged to be married. He wore a cross around his neck that belonged to his late father and had moved to Milwaukee from Chicago within months of his father's death. Imagine his mother losing her husband and her son in a matter of months.
Wow.
It's horrible.
Absolutely tragic. Joseph Braidhoft, 25. He recently moved into Milwaukee apartments rented by his brother and was looking for work. He had a wife and 3 children. He left for a job interview and never came back.
Oh.
And the quote from his mom, "We lost the baby of the family, and I hope you go to hell," referring to.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone's going to hell, it's definitely Dahmer.
Definitely Dahmer. Yeah.
So,
and not to mention the people that were assaulted by him but escaped.
yes.
Like one of the Synsophone's brother.
And then Tracy, right?
and Tracy Edwards and probably more that we don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then, of course, something Flowers. The one who went to his grandma's house and his coffee was drugged.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't know his name. Let me pull that up.
But I hope that, gave a little bit more insight to, them as people and not necessarily just as a number or, a tally mark after the victims that Dahmer took their life with.
Mm-hmm.
But
what did you guys think of how they were saying that he would like to watch The Exorcist to get him in the mood?
I did notice that, and I also heard that was a movie that inspired him about those contacts he would wear.
Yeah,
there was 2 different movies that he loved to watch. It was a Star Wars, and then also The Exorcist, and he was obsessed with them, and he wore the contacts, and it made him feel like.
Well, I didn't remember anything about contacts.
I read that last night when I was doing some research about the contacts. Yeah.
His name is Ronald Flowers, by the way, the one who was able to escape him at his grandma's house. Yeah, it was the Dark Lord or whatever, and he, I guess, said he always related with the the bad guy, the villains of scary movies or just movies. He always felt more connected to villains.
Yeah.
So he wanted to feel more like a villain, I guess, and put those yellow contacts on.
Do you guys think his grandmother had, particularly the young man that you were just mentioning, Ronald Flowers, because Grandma stayed with him until morning. So do you think she thought something was going on?
Apparently that didn't actually happen.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's why I'm I don't like when they mix it up a lot.
Apparently,
false information.
He went on a bus. That did happen.
Yeah,
and he did OD.
Yeah.
He was sent home or wherever on a bus, but his grandma, I don't think actually had as much involvement with it as the show portrayed.
So I'm curious of what really gave him, that plan to escape. If he was drugged and how was he able to escape if grandma wasn't part of that equation,
there is an interview that exists online of Ronald Flowers, and he does talk about what happened and his experience when he woke up in the hospital, and he presumably was essayed by Dahmer because he woke up with bruises and his underwear was turned inside out and everything that.
So so that actually sounds totally different than what we saw.
Yeah, he didn't wake up oh my god.
Right.
I'm feeling groggy. He went through it and survived. So, the interview does exist on YouTube if you feel so compelled to go and find it. So, Ronald Flowers. So, I heard Tracy Edwards, though, one of the survivors, actually, lived to lead a life of crime after everything and killed someone, and that's just what I heard. It could be slander, I'm not sure, but apparently that he I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you go through that much trauma, I guess it could change you or make you do something.
Yeah. Wow. Well, what a very, very heavy episode.
Oh my goodness.
It is Spooktober, but
a lot deeper than we usually do.
Very dark.
But
it is very dark.
It's a huge topic right now and a huge topic of conversation. And I thought, why not?
Yeah.
Do some research and
if you haven't seen it and you want to, I recommend it, but it will be hard to watch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
if it's not hard to watch, you have problems. But
some people are fetishizing it though, which is disgusting.
Yeah, that is disgusting. Oh no,
it's apparently
a ghost fell.
A ghosty.
Wait, that's actually so scary. Do you know how long ago I hung that up?
Yeah, days ago,
last week, and it just fell.
That is pretty weird and random.
As we talk about
that is really weird.
Is it because we have the fan on? Maybe
the fan's been on
for days though.
That fan has been on though.
All right. Anyway.
Ooh, scary, you guys.
Roll the clip back. Is there an orb? What's going on?
Maybe it's Tracy Edwards.
Is it Miko?
Oh, stop. Don't even get me started on Miko. Miko was a living, a dog embodiment of a ghost that just kept living.
And now he is a ghost.
Now he is a ghost. He drowned in my pool, and we don't have to get into that. Anyway.
Miko.
Just rest in peace,
people were getting really weird about the Jeffrey Dahmer thing and being really inappropriate about it and being I don't know. People were wearing Jeffrey Dahmer earrings and
it wasn't gory enough for me.
Oh yeah,
of conversation.
Ew. I'm just putting myself in the victim's family's shoes and being really,
right.
Fuck you.
I did hear that it's I think number 9 on the most watched series on Netflix right now, like ever, which is pretty wild.
That is wild.
Yeah.
I think Stranger Things was above it, and
which makes sense.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
been like a huge thing and has many seasons.
Many seasons.
But yeah, Dahmer just came out for sure.
That's
huge.
It's very different from My Friend Dahmer, which I watched with
Yes.
Ross Lynch on YouTube, which
Daddy.
kind of went more. Right.
Ross Lynch is a daddy.
I like Evan Peters more than I like Ross Lynch.
I'm more of a. I didn't. Yeah. Anyway, that's a different conversation. But
yeah. Anyway,
they're both attractive.
They both are.
Not as. You know what I mean.
Jeffrey Dahmer though, ugly.
Yes.
Bitch.
I also heard. Do you? Fun fact. I was watching a true and false thing last night, where basically like what were things that really happened that they portrayed in the show, and what were things that they didn't. And one of the things that I thought was interesting is that in the show, Dahmer always has his iconic glasses on, like his the 1980s classic big framed. But when he was in court in real life, when he was sentenced, he didn't wear his glasses because he didn't want to like see the families in the eyes. He didn't want to be able to see them.
I think I did.
I did
that.
see
Isn't
that.
that crazy?
That's
I thought
really
that was interesting, like an interesting detail.
It is, because it's almost like, how do you have that, even just like that little bit of a remorse,
To not even to,
but like
can't
you were
see
so okay to like do all of those things.
Because he didn't have
Makes
to
it
face the
kind of-
wrath yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
His interviews too, after all was said and done, were just so eerie because he was very just
Like emotionless.
just very candid about everything that happened, and was just like, yeah, I did this.
Every detail.
He's like, I feel
really
so
scary.
sorry about it. And he was, but they were like, okay, well, if you were back on the streets now with everything said and done, do you think you'd still be doing what you did? And he's like, yeah, I don't think I would have been able to stop it.
I think it's in his like brain and blood to do that.
Yeah, cast
Like,
up
it's
from hell.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's horrible. That is horrible. I was talking to some friends at work, and they were saying that at the end, his mom and his dad went to court, and his mom wanted his brain to be posthumously analyzed by like a neurologist to see what set him apart from the general public, and his dad wanted to honor Jeffrey's wishes of just like not being touched. So the judge ruled in the dad's favor and was like, we just want to move on from this as a society.
Put it to rest, like
Put it
respect
to rest.
the families,
But,
and,
yeah.
like allow them to move on.
Yeah. It would be interesting, though, to have known the psychology and the neurology behind
It would
why
be
his
very
brain
interesting.
Definitely.
was like
If
that.
they're- yeah.
Well, didn't they in the
was
show? I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but weren't they saying it was because of a certain surgery he had as a kid?
Oh, he
that like
had-
set him off.
That was like his dad's excuse for
Right.
it. Like he's never the same after
Right.
his surgery.
It was a
Wasn't it like a hemorrhoid?
he had hemorrhoids or something, yeah, and
Like a medication or something.
like a
was-
colonoscopy, yeah, I don't know, something.
No,
Whatever.
no excuse for those actions,
Yeah.
but it's just interesting to think about like the psychological disorder that could cause him.
I kind of think that probably was just more of an excuse, and
In denial.
Yeah, because it's like you obviously caused him childhood trauma.
Yeah, he didn't help the case at all.
So
Yeah,
that probably has a lot more to do with it.
yeah,
But
definitely.
what do you guys think of like how he died, and like do you think that?
Hell yeah, eye for an eye.
But like, do you think that like it was his, because like that guy just played God basically and decided that he was going to put him to like,
Well,
he deserved to die and everything.
So true.
Not saying that he didn't deserve to die.
Right.
If I had a say in it, I would have been
Right.
like death penalty all the way.
Right.
But
Being murdered in like his cell or
Yeah.
weren't they, he was working with a couple of his inmates, right? And he got
Yeah.
murdered.
Well, I think part of me says I'm glad he brutally was murdered because that's what he deserves. But for the victims, I can't speak on that. But I think that they probably wanted him to rot in hell, like rot in jail.
I feel like there's
be miserable.
There's
so.
no like punishment to what he put these families and victims through.
Yeah, so
There's
Yeah.
like no punishment in the world that would like
Yeah.
equip to that.
I would imagine like if I was a part of the victim's family, I would want him to die.
Right.
I'm sure though a lot of people would have wanted to gather around when he had if he did have an execution.
Yeah, watch it.
I'm sure there would be a line of people out the door trying to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I think that he had what was coming to him. That's what I'll say.
Oh, absolutely. Wasn't it? It was pretty short after. Wasn't he only in jail for about 2 years, in prison for 2 years before he was murdered? It was a short amount of time. He was given like 14 lifelong sentences.
Oh, okay.
14.
Yeah, he wasn't getting out of there.
The only thing that I would say is that if he had like guilt and he had to like live with himself, then I think rotting in jail would be more like satisfying, you know.
But
he was like so content and okay with it.
He was baptized
he
and
doesn't deserve to be on the earth.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, I think it was a brutal murder, so I don't have my cup. It was a brutal murder, and obviously, you know, I'm a godly woman, so nobody deserves it. But if anybody does, it's Jeffrey Dahmer, and you know, he got a taste of what he put his victims through. So fuck you.
Absolutely disgusting.
So the camera looks like it's about to die, which is so very swag. But yeah, I guess to end the episode, or to end this portion, just, you know, obviously condolences to the victims and their families. We just wanted to talk about this because, you know, it is kind of a big topic right now, and we wanted to share our thoughts on it. So yeah, that's all we'll say about that.
Very interesting.
It kind of feels wrong to share TMI after how heavy this was. Like, let's just go to our girly little thing.
And in lighter note, let's just move right along into our Hot Wheel. So, I spun last week. Shar spun the week prior. So, it is my little mousy mouse's turn to my right's turn. Mickey Mouse, Miska Muska.
Did you just have like a seizure?
Maybe.
All right, here we go. Let's spin.
All right, let's see.
Oh, you already
Fictional
got this
character
one.
you smash. No, I didn't answer that one. I edited that part out. Well, because I picked one.
All right, so are you prepared?
Over the other. Fictional character I would smash is gonna have to be.
Take out the scroll.
Yeah, there's a lot. You know, probably.
Shelby's got a thing for anime.
It's a really hard question.
No, there's so many.
Many.
My brain, I don't know why, automatically went to Danny Phantom.
Fiction?
But I shouldn't.
I mean,
Slay. No Slay. So my dream man on paper in an anime.
Remember, this is your choice because fictional can mean animated or not. It could just be like a fictional character or something.
Oh.
Yeah, so like
part of me is going to say Peter Pan, the live action Peter Pan when I was a little baby. And the other part of me is going to say Natsu from Seven Deadly Sins.
Okay. Good. We have like a real life and then an animated character. I like the variety.
Thank you so much.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, enough of that.
Take that away. And let's dive into our TMIs.
Let's do it. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Go for it.
So my TMI of the week is that I let my legs get so hairy that my leggings were like pulling on it and it like hurt.
Girl.
And I don't know if that's like a normal thing that happens to people, but like I don't normally go that long without shaving my legs. I usually like do it right when I start to see hair, but I was being really lazy because I left my razor out of the shower, and every time I'd go in the shower I forgot to bring it back in.
I mean, sometimes I feel the little prickles coming out of my leggings, but I never like pull and it gets like
I think I was wearing like extra tight ones, and like I don't know, like it just like was hurting.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's my TMI. But I shaved, all good.
Good job. Good job. We're happy for you.
Do you guys ever feel that with your pubes?
Yeah.
It'll come through?
Yeah. Come through? Yeah.
Absolutely. It'll come through the leggings.
I feel like that's your leg hair, including your like crotch area, is like thicker, so I feel like it's more easy to poke through.
It so is. My TMI is that we ran out of toilet paper in the bathroom, so I've been using napkins from Sam's Club.
Oh no.
Yep. That's all.
I would have brought you a roll. I live down the street.
I should just go to the store, but I haven't.
I asked Tyler to pick some up, so he might have.
Well, for now, that's probably Graham. That's probably Graham. So anyway, I've been using Sam's Club napkins.
Does it hurt?
No, they feel fine. 2-ply at least.
Cannot be good to flush.
Mine was the other day when I was at work. I got some Juicelicious boobs. They're big. Mm-hmm. They sweat.
They do.
Especially when I'm like running around a classroom for 8 hours a day.
Boobs sweat.
So I had a light shirt on, and you get a sweat mark sometimes underneath your breasticles. One of my little sweetie pies come up to me, Miss Clapp, your shirt is wet. And I look down and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's just water. They're like, okay. I don't know, it was just like funny. Because like obviously that means like my coworkers probably saw.
Yeah.
That my boobs were sweating, but I can't tell because I can't look underneath unless I hold my boobies up. So that was mine.
Wow.
No, that's what it should have been like.
It's kind of funny.
Be like, gather around, kids. It's time for you to learn a little bit about biology. Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah, that was mine.
All right, well, those are really good TMIs, you guys.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I guess that wraps up the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching if you did, and we hope you really liked this one. It was a little heavy on us to talk about.
Yeah. Next week will be a little lighter.
Well, it's all spooky.
Well, it's all spooky, but you know, this was a different kind of spooky.
This was real life spook.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, let us know what you thought about the Jeffrey Dahmer, the Netflix show. Let us know what you thought.
Yeah.
And as always, peace, love, blessings, and slay the day.
Love, happiness, love your little 3 blind mice.
Love the 3 blind mice. Bye.